Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the episode of PLA with myself, Nick, and Bruno. We've got two questions today for you guys, and the first one is just regarding interest rates and deposits. That will be out to Nick, and the second one is obviously with Bruno. This one is regarding installment sale agreements. Nick, so the first question is as follows. It comes from Denise, and the question is, what is a fair interest rate for a deposit amount held on behalf of a tenant? And just some background there is said that they are being told, right, that we are being told that 1% in a trust account. Yet the managing agents are not willing to send us a bank statement detailing those earnings due to the interest being charged by their payment system info directly from the bank. Therefore, because of that, it is apparent that they only being provided with a statement with the company logo of the agents. How would we know if their figures are then correct? Nick?
Okay, perfect. So just dealing with deposits on lease agreements. Okay, the first thing I want to just make clear is I'm going to be talking about residential lease agreements specifically, okay, because there is legislation dictating exactly how deposits are supposed to be held and what happens with them in terms of residential properties. Okay, when it comes to your commercial, industrial, all of those I'm going to leave aside because those are commercial transactions, and so those are going to depend on what the parties agree to in terms of a particular contract. So this is only going to apply to residential. We just haven't been told what kind of property this is, but I presume it is residential. So in terms of the Rental Housing Act, deposits can be paid on a residential property. The landlord is entitled to ask for a deposit, okay? And any deposit that is paid from the tenant to the landlord must be invested in an interest-bearing account with a registered financial institution. Okay. So if the landlord is going to ask for a deposit, they also don't have to do this. They can form another, get another form of security. But if they do, it must be registered with a registered financial institution in an interest-bearing account. Okay. So the requirement, that is the requirement in terms of legislation. Legislation does not go so far as to indicate what is the percentage that you should get back on your deposit ultimately. So while it must accrue interest, okay, legislation doesn't dictate what that type of interest percentage is. So to answer the question, Denise has asked, well, what's a fair interest rate? Okay. A fair interest rate is basically what your lowest amount you're going to get in a basic account with any registered financial institution is. Okay. Usually that's going to be your 2-3%, something to that effect. What is more interesting about this question, but unfortunately I'd have to look into the facts a bit deeper, is you as a tenant are entitled to ask for proof of your deposit in that interest-bearing account. And in this particular circumstance, it seems that there's an indication that the money is being held in trust. So there is a question there that I have about how is that money actually being held and how is that interest percentage being levied? Because I'm not sure whether this is a circumstance where the managing agents have not necessarily invested it into an interest-bearing account and they're trying to just do the equivalent of giving a percentage that they deem to be appropriate in the circumstances. And in that circumstance, the managing agents have to be careful because the requirement is into an interest-bearing account with a registered financial institution. You can't hold it in any other way and just say, I'm giving you a percentage and that's sufficient. Legislation actually requires the investment into the bank and interest to accrue on that particular thing. But as I say, we don't have that information. I would, if I was Denise, continue to insist that I need to see it. This growth in the deposit from a banking institution to know that my money is there and that legislation has been complied with. So unfortunately, I can't give you a correct percentage. There is none. Legislation doesn't go that far. But you should really insist on them demonstrating that they have invested it into the interest-bearing account.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, then, Nick.